was just past midnight when Mia heard the knock. At first, she thought it was the wind. Her small two-bedroom apartment creaked when the night turned cold, and lately, the radiator had been groaning like it was on its last leg. But this knock was sharp, timid, but insistent. She crept to the door, still wearing her threadbare hoodie and flannel pajama pants. Her 6-year-old daughter, Ellie, was fast asleep on the pull-out sofa, her tiny hand clutching a stuffed bunny so worn its ears barely held on. Mia peeked through the peephole. A teenage boy stood outside, soaking wet hoodie, clinging to his frame, a backpack slung over one shoulder. He looked no older than 17, maybe 80. His eyes were wide, lips shivering. She cracked the door just enough for her voice to pass through. "Can I help you?" The boy looked up, startled. I'm sorry. I didn't know where else to go. I'm not trying to cause trouble, I swear. I just I missed the last bus. I've been walking for hours. My phone died. I was hoping I could sit in your hallway for a bit, just until morning." Mia's instincts kicked in single mom mode. Stranger at the door. No way. But then she saw the scrape on his cheek, the bruised knuckles, and the way his voice cracked like he hadn't spoken to anyone who cared in days. She hesitated. "You hungry?" she asked. He blinked. "What?" I said. "Are you hungry? I made soup earlier. There's a little left." The boy nodded slowly. She opened the door. "Shoes off? You'll wake my daughter," she said, pointing to a towel for him to dry his feet. "Bathrooms down the hall. I'll get you something dry." He stepped in, silent and unsure, like he hadn't been inside a real home in a long time. Over a bowl of reheated soup, Mia learned his name. Logan, no last name offered. No questions asked. She didn't press him. He ate slowly, like someone not used to being fed. His eyes wandered around the small apartment family photos taped to the fridge, crayons on the kitchen counter, Ellie's backpack resting by the door. "You live here alone?" he finally asked. Mia nodded. "Me and Ellie? Just us?" He gave a small smile. "She's lucky." Mia didn't know what to say to that. She rarely felt lucky. Just ... exhausted. When he finished eating, she handed him a folded blanket and pointed to the armchair. "It reclines a little," she said. "Not much, but better than the hallway." He stared at her, like she was offering him a 5-star suite. "You sure?" Mia just shrugged. Everyone needs a safe place once in a while. He looked down at the blanket in his hands. "Thank you," he said quietly. "Get some sleep," she replied, and then she turned off the light. What Mia didn't see, what she couldn't have known, was that the boy sleeping in her armchair was worth more than everything in her apartment combined, because Logan wasn't just lost. He was the estranged son of Arthur Grayson, one of the richest men in the state, and he had just walked into the one home that would change everything. Mia woke up before the sun. It was second nature by now. Get up, pack Ellie's lunch, check her email for any gig work, and pray the car would start if she got a job that day. The tiny apartment was still dim, the light from the hallway casting soft shadows across the floor. She padded quietly into the kitchen. To her surprise, Logan was already awake. He was sitting at the table, sipping a glass of water, with the blanket folded neatly beside him. He had even straightened the couch cushions without being asked. "Couldn't sleep?" Mia asked. Logan shook his head. "Didn't want to be in the way. I figured I'd head out early." Mia crossed her arms. "You planning to walk again? It's barely above freezing out there." "I'll manage." She raised an eyebrow. "You've got no phone, no coat, no plan. And if you're trying to convince me you're just some regular kid, you're doing a bad job of it." Logan smiled faintly. "That obvious." Mia poured 2 cups of coffee and slid one across to him. "I've seen a lot of runaways in my day." "You've got the look, but not the story." He didn't answer. Ellie wandered in a moment later, yawning, dragging her bunny by one ear. She asked sleepily, eyeing Logan. "This is Logan," Mia said casually. "He's a friend who needed a place to warm up last night." Logan knelt down to Ellie's level. "Hi. I like your bunny." Ellie studied him for a moment. "His name is Neil. He doesn't like strangers." Mia waited for the usual awkwardness, but Logan didn't flinch. "Well, I'm not a stranger if I know his name now, right?" Ellie blinked, then handed Logan the bunny without another word. "Hold him while I get my cereal." Mia's jaw nearly dropped. Ellie had never shared nibbles, not even with her cousins. Logan gave a small, embarrassed smile. "I think I passed the test. You did better than most adults." Later that morning, after dropping Ellie at school, Mia returned to find Logan still sitting on the same kitchen stool. "I thought you'd be gone," she said. "I was going to," Logan replied. "But I don't have anywhere to go right now." "Not really." Mia looked at him, studying his posture. His voice was calm, but there was a heaviness in it, a kind of loneliness she knew too well. "Did something happen?" Logan hesitated. "Yeah, a lot. I just needed a break from my dad, from his expectations, from everything. So I left. No one knows where I am." She nodded slowly. "You don't have to tell me more, but I do need to know this. Are you in trouble?" "No," he said quickly. "Just tired of being someone I'm not." That was enough for Mia. "You can stay one more night. But tomorrow, we figure out a plan. Deal?" That night, Logan helped Ellie with her homework. They played a board game that was missing half the pieces. He even offered to do the dishes. Mia stood in the doorway, arms crossed, heart unexpectedly full. It had been so long since there had been laughter in her home that she almost didn't recognize the sound. Still, a voice in her gut whispered, "Who is this kid? Really?" She brushed it off. But what she didn't know was that a black SUV had been parked 2 blocks down since that morning. Inside sat a man in a tailored suit, speaking quietly into a phone. "We've got a visual on him, sir," the driver said. "He's with a woman and a child." The voice on the other end was cold. "Direct. Tell me when he moves, and don't lose him again." Because Logan wasn't just missing, he was being hunted. The next morning began like any other. Mia was brushing Ellie's hair at the kitchen table, while Logan poured cereal for them both. The light streaming through the curtains gave the room a cozy glow, the kind Mia used to imagine but hadn't felt in years. It felt like a home, a real one. Ellie chattered away about school, as Logan listened intently, like her stories were the most important thing in the world. Mia caught herself watching him, how gentle he was, how patient. It was hard to believe he was the same boy who had shown up drenched and exhausted just 2 nights earlier. He was polite, helpful, thoughtful, and there was a sadness in him that he tried hard to hide. But then came the knock. It was firm, loud, authoritative. Mia froze. Logan stiffened at the table. 3 more knocks followed, then a pause. Mia stood slowly and walked to the door, her hand hesitating on the knob. "Are you expecting someone?" she asked Logan without turning around. He shook his head. She opened the door cautiously. 2 men in suits stood on the porch. "Ms. Brooks," one asked. His tone was formal, but not unkind. "Yes, we're looking for someone. A boy, about 17. He was last seen in this neighborhood. His name is Logan Grayson." Mia's breath caught in her throat. She turned toward the kitchen, but Logan was already standing, his jaw clenched, his eyes on the floor. "I'm here," he said quietly, stepping into view. The taller man nodded. "Your father's been worried sick." Logan didn't react. "He is offering a $100,000 reward for any information that leads to your safe return." Mia blinked. "Wait, your father?" The man looked at her. "Arthur Grayson, CEO of Grayson Technologies." The name hit Mia like a punch. She had seen it in magazines, on billboards, even on the back of Ellie's old school laptop. Arthur Grayson was one of the richest men in the country, a billionaire, and Logan was his son. Mia looked at the boy standing quietly by the couch. "You never told me?" she whispered. "I didn't want to be found," Logan replied, barely meeting her eyes. "I just wanted to be normal for once." The agent stepped forward. "We don't want to cause trouble, ma'am, but we need to take him home." Logan didn't resist. He turned to Ellie first, kneeling beside her. "Thanks for letting me borrow Nibbles," he said softly. Ellie smiled, hugging the stuffed bunny. "You can come back and visit, right?" He looked up at Mia. "If that's okay with your mom?" Mia swallowed hard. "Logan," he reached into his pocket and handed her a small, wrinkled envelope. "This has my real number, not the one they gave the press. If you ever need anything, just call." Then he turned and walked out with the men. Mia stood frozen in the doorway as the SUV pulled away, disappearing down the street. It felt like waking up from a dream. That night, Ellie was quiet. Dinner was quiet. The whole apartment felt emptier, like something important had left with Logan. Mia sat on the edge of her bed and unfolded the envelope. Inside was a note. "Thank you for treating me like a person, not a problem. You gave me a home when I had nowhere else to go. I won't forget it." Logan taped to the back was something else, a bank slip. Mia's eyes widened. It was a transfer receipt. $25,000 from Logan Grayson to Mia Brooks, and below it, one more line written in Logan's messy handwriting. "Just a small down payment on everything I owe you." Mia pressed the note to her chest, eyes brimming with tears. She had helped him with no agenda, no expectations, and somehow, that one act of kindness had changed everything. 2 weeks passed. Life returned to its quiet rhythm. Ellie went to school. Mia picked up shifts at the diner. She tried to put Logan out of her mind, but every so often she defined herself looking toward the corner of the living room, where he used to sit with a cup of coffee and that thoughtful, distant look in his eyes. The $25,000 had cleared into her account, enough to pay off 3 months of overdue rent, buy a used car that didn't cough smoke, and stock the fridge with more than just eggs and bread. But she hadn't touched the rest. It felt wrong, somehow like it wasn't really hers. Then, on a rainy Wednesday morning, she stepped out of the diner after a double shift and nearly dropped her umbrella. A sleek black town car was parked at the curb. Out stepped a man in a dark coat, tall and broad-shouldered. Mia's breath caught. "Logan." He turned. He looked older, stronger, like someone who had faced a storm and made it through. "Hey, Mia." She walked up slowly. "What are you doing here?" He gave a small smile. "You told me to come back if I ever wanted to visit?" She hesitated, scanning the street. "No bodyguards?" "I ditched them. Borrowed the car from my driver. I had to come alone." Mia crossed her arms. "Why?" Logan looked down. "Because I owe you more than a thank you." Back at the apartment, Ellie squealed when she saw Logan. "You came back?" she shouted, throwing her arms around his waist. He laughed, kneeling to hug her. "Of course I did. Couldn't let Nibbles forget me." "Over dinner?" The air grew heavier with curiosity. Mia finally asked, "So? What's the truth?" Logan set his fork down. My father's company is being handed down to me. But I told him I wasn't going to take over until I spent time learning how regular people live, what it means to earn trust, not just inherit power. Mia blinked. So, you left on purpose? I ran. Yeah, but not out of rebellion. I needed perspective. He looked at her, voice softer, and I found it here with you. Mia shook her head. You had a million places you could have gone. Why me? Because you were the only person who didn't ask for anything. You didn't recognize me. You didn't try to impress me. You just gave me warmth. There was a beat of silence. Then Ellie chimed in. You're gonna stay, right? Logan's eyes met Mia's. I want to, but I want to do more than visit. He pulled out a small folder and slid it across the table. Mia opened it. Inside were blueprints and documents. A permit for a community youth center, right in their neighborhood, named the Ellie Brooks Center for Hope. Mia's eyes welled. I wanted to honor you both, Logan said quietly. You gave me shelter. I want to give it to others. Mia covered her mouth. I don't know what to say. He smiled. Say you'll help me run it. She stared at him, stunned. You know this community. You understand the struggle. I need someone real to run the program side. Someone with a heart like yours. Mia looked from the folder to Ellie, who beamed with pride, and for the first time in years, she allowed herself to really hope that maybe the struggle had led her somewhere on purpose. The grand opening was 6 months later. The building was modest on the outside but vibrant within, full of classrooms, art rooms, mentorship programs, and a kitchen that served free meals to local kids. Ellie was the unofficial mascot, skipping through the halls with nibbles in tow. Volunteers and staff alike adored her. And Mia, well, she had a badge now. Program director. She stood on the makeshift stage beside Logan during the ribbon cutting. He spoke to the crowd. Sometimes, the richest lessons come from the poorest places. I came here with nothing but a lie and a name I didn't want to use. But I found truth in a small apartment with a strong woman and her daughter. He looked at Mia. She gave me a night's shelter and changed the course of my life. When the applause faded, Logan turned and whispered, You ready for the next chapter? Mia nodded. I think I've been ready for years. He smiled. Then let's build it together. What neither of them saw was the reporter in the crowd, snapping photos, catching every word. The next morning, a headline would sweep the internet. Billionaire son disappeared for months, found hope in single mother's home. But inside the walls of the Ellie Brooks Center, none of that mattered, because it wasn't about headlines anymore. It was about healing, helping, and remembering that sometimes the smallest act, like opening your door to a stranger, can unlock the biggest blessings.